Hi everyone, welcome to the channel or welcome back to the channel of City Gal Country Roots. And today we're going to be talking about the 7 reasons why I wanted to go on this homesteading journey. I'm sure that I'll come up with tons more reasons in the years to come and videos to come, and I'm also certain that I'll come up with a video about what the hell was I thinking when stuff starts to ultimately go wrong and fall out of my control. But right now we're going to talk about the 7 reasons why I kind of want to go on this journey. So the first one ultimately for me is that it was really fun. So when I started to put my hands in the dirt when we first bought our house, and I was growing tomatoes and getting green beans and going, oh my God, I have more cucumbers than I know what to do with. What can I do? Oh my God, I can do freezer pickles. All of these things became really, really fun for me. Learning is fun for me. Researching is fun for me. Talking about our food system and gardening and teaching others is fun for me. And so that's one of the main reasons that I wanted to do it, is because it's fun and it's something that I can share with others, which is really important to me just as a person. Especially, I'm an educator, that kind of thing, sharing my knowledge, having a good time is really important. So number one is it's fun. And I guess 1.5 is that I get to share it with other people and share my knowledge. The second reason is that I am a control freak, okay? Type A person to the max. So if I can control it, if I can make a plan about it, it's for me, right? It is for me. And so one thing about kind of gardening and homesteading and all these things is that what I read and what I started to learn was that it's really important to have a plan, and it's really important to have really good records and know what was going on and what did you add to the soil and the rain and all of these things. And while I haven't been doing a great job in the last few years about, oh, how much rain did we get and what were the temperatures? Those are things that this year I definitely want to start, because I know how important it's going to be moving forward when we end up on a bigger property and where we're incorporating animals and all of those kind of things. So I will do a video in the future, which eventually I will link right up top to that, and how you make a garden plan, how you keep different records for your homestead. So for me, number 2, I get to be a control freak. The third reason, and it's kind of going to tie into kind of reasons 3 through 5 for me, right, is as I did more research, as I dug in on gardening. You cannot talk about gardening and growing your own food without talking about our food production system, okay? And what I started to realize is that our entire food supply is controlled by very few companies, specifically our seeds and those kind of things are controlled, the majority, by a few very large companies who are owned by a few folks. And I think that is insane to me, that a few people can control the food supply for millions and millions and millions of people. And particularly when food is not this just thing oh, it's nice to have. No, it's literally something that you need in order to sustain your life. And so that for me is insane. And in that control, one thing they do is they fill our heads with the idea that we just have this overabundance of everything, right? Especially in the United States. And, going through this whole quarantine process and the coronavirus pandemic and all of these things, I was talking to my colleagues a while ago before they shut the schools down here in Philadelphia. And they were all talking, oh my God, there's no toilet paper, there's no meat, there's no this. And I chuckled. And I obviously looked a little bit crazy. And people were like, why are you laughing? And I was like, well, I was reading this book a while ago, a few years ago, and I said, and I don't remember exactly what book it was, I said, but basically they talked about the fact that grocery stores are an illusion of abundance, right? Realistically, grocery stores can only hold about 3 days worth of food for the community in which they are supposed to serve. And so no crap, it's going to run out eventually, because it's not made for people to be able to, everybody to go out at once. It's made for a few people to go grocery shopping here and there and shipments to come, and they can only hold so much in the store. And so, that was just something that kind of ties to our food being controlled for me, right? That there really is only so much. And so if I can take a little bit of my control back, again, back to number 2, I'm a control freak, take a little bit of that back, can produce some of my own food, do some of my own things, because I have that ability. I also can then free up for some people who maybe don't have that ability, don't have that time, whatever it is right now, financials, that they need to be able to get to a grocery store and get stuff at a cheaper rate, at an easier rate, for whatever reason. They can have it, and I can have what it is that I want for me and my family. So I think that that's really important. More of that kind of research that went into our food supply and our food system for me leads into number 5. And so that's about the treatment of animals. Now, I'm going to say this right now. I don't foresee myself ever being a vegetarian. I've considered being a pescatarian, but every time I think about not being able to have bacon, freaks me out a little bit. So while I'm okay with consuming animals, the more research I've done, I've learned that what I'm not okay with is how we treat them before they get to the plate. Now, I was reading a book many, many years ago, and I'm actually going to do a post, which I will link right up here when it's done, from Joel Salatin. And this book literally is one of the main books that changed my life, along with the Dirty Life book, which I'll do kind of like a review video about both of them. And what he basically, says is that you don't have to do all these crazy things to the animals, right? Ultimately, you should be letting the animal have its animalness, right? I think he calls it like letting the pig have its pigness. And, you can't lock them up in these tiny spaces that they weren't meant to be in, crowd them together, give them all kinds of medicine because now they're getting sick based on their conditions, and feed them with crap. And expect that us as people are going to feel good about the food, that it's going to do good things to our insides. So not only are the animals being treated like crap, we're then also putting that into our body. And so I'm not a big fan of that. Now, I'm going to be, completely honest. I still buy my meat from a grocery store sometimes, especially in times like this where there's not a lot of options. But for several years, and I kind of got away from it because it was a little bit expensive, but now that, I'm actually, we're doing okay financially, and I was able to get a full-time job, like actual teaching job, and, Sean's gotten some promotions and things. We're not millionaires, of course, but like we're doing okay. We're going to go back to actually getting our meat from a farm that's only about an hour away. And what they do is they come to a farmer's market that's on 2nd Street over in Philadelphia. And I think that they come on Sundays. The last time I checked, I'm sure they're closed right now, but when they get back up and running, they come on Sundays. And it's a really good, like, mom and pops owned organization. They've been around for a long time. They originally started out as a dairy farm. So they have really good, like, cheeses and all of those things. And I will put a link to their website down below because I really, really want people to support them. They're amazing. And so what we were doing is we were getting like meat packages, big beef packages, and pork package like once a year. And it was about 60 to 80 pounds of meat for about $600. So it comes out to about 10 pounds of meat, $10 per pound of meat. Which isn't bad when you're considering like you were getting a lot of like premium steaks and all of these different things. And so that was really, really important to us. And so we started to do that, and we're going to get more back into that once all this stuff is kind of over and we can. So we've talked about, it being fun, me being a control freak, kind of our food supply system, and animal treatment. And so like the last thing that kind of ties in with like the food supply is also nourishment. I was reading a book that my Aunt Karen gave me a while ago, and it is called Eating on the Wild Side, and I'm sorry I forget the author right at this moment, but I'll put a link for that book down at the bottom. And so just want to point out, like, this book was really cool. It had like all these different chapters on a variety of fruits and vegetables, and each fruit or vegetable gets its own chapter, and then it talks about its history. It talks about, kind of its nutritional value and how that's changed, and then it goes into like, if you're going to eat this, right, say you can only get your produce from the grocery store, what do you look for the most healthy? If you, grow your own, what can you do? If you're going to pick it up from like a planting store, what can you do? And like, how can you pick the best varieties that have the most nutritional value? And what I found with this book that was so interesting is that we as people are always screwing around with stuff that we should probably leave alone. So for instance, tomatoes, right? Everyone thinks about tomatoes like those big, beautiful, red, giant tomatoes. And yeah, they have nutritional value, but the actual best tomatoes for you are cherry tomatoes, right? The smallest tomato possible actually has more nutritional value than the humongous tomatoes. The reason is those teeny tomatoes are actually closer to what their ancestors, right, the original tomatoes were, where they grew on like little bushes and vines, and they were really small. And so the further you get away from how things were originally done, the less nutritional value that it's going to have. And so that book is really, really interesting and kind of helped me learn about better nourishment and what to do if like I had to get something from the grocery store, right? The darker colors, purples, deep greens, all of those things are naturally more healthy because of how the science of it works, like photosynthesis and how they process everything, right? So that was really interesting to me, was like the nourishment aspect and being able to choose different varieties that are more nutritious, because I have the ability to grow my own, which is not always going to be, the varieties and things that are offered in the grocery store. So those are kind of like the research-based philosophical reasons. So a couple more like fun reasons. So number 6, right, is gardening and like homesteading eventually is a workout. When I tell you that nothing, absolutely nothing lets you know how out of shape you are, like gardening, I'm so serious. So when you're pushing a wheelbarrow uphill, filled with stuff, you're like, arm workout, cardio workout, this is great, right? I'm also freaking exhausted. When you're having to dig up grass that's been just compacted and it's crappy, and you got to dig that up to put a new bed in, your arms are getting a workout. Everything's getting a workout. When you're constantly bending over, standing up, pulling out weeds, all of these things, right? It's a workout for your body. And you will be worn out, you will be sweaty, you will be disgusting, but it's a workout. And it's a workout in which like you're not really thinking like, oh God, I'm running, right? I'm running, which is not something I can do, right? If I'm thinking about running, the chances of me running are slim to shit, okay? So it's a really good workout. And then the last reason, right, the most obvious reason I kind of feel like with just the title, right, of my channel, City Gale Country Roots, is the connection to my roots, right? And when I say roots, I'm not just talking about like my own personal roots from West Virginia, right? But I'm also talking about the roots of humanity, right? People originally were people of the earth, right? We ate based on what was available to us from the earth. We learned how to farm and how to do these things, and we were hunters and gatherers, and like we needed that. And we've gotten so far removed from that, from the earth, from how things are supposed to work, that we are no longer stewards of the earth that we were given by God to be stewards of. We're like these controlling people who think that we're entitled to everything. And in that, the earth often has to go at and remind us that like ultimately we're just animals on this earth, right? And so that to me, that connection to like what humanity originally was and what our purpose was, right, was to be stewards of the earth, was to take care of it and the other inhabitants of the planet, is really important. And then getting more personal is, yeah, it's really cool to think that like, and I'm going to be making bread and some of my famous dinner rolls that my family loves. And I'm going to do a video on that, and I'm going to connect it right up here when it's done. And just like the ability to know that like I'm using my hands and my stand mixer that I call Bertha to like make bread the way my great grandmother did, and the way that her mother did before her, and the way that her mother did before her, is fabulous to me. Right? Putting my hands in the soil and thinking about historically what people of color were forced to do, and then how some of them, like my grandfather, Eugene, how he took it and made it his own, right? Those are the things that for me are just like super cool and mind-blowing. And just like sometimes I stand in my yard and I have my hands in the soil and I think, oh my God, like this is something that is so basic to humanity, and I feel so connected. Right? I'm literally rooted in the soil when my hands are there. And so that's, kind of reason number 7. So again, 7 reasons why I'm doing this homesteading journey. Fun. I'm a control freak. I hate the fact that our entire food supply is controlled by a few. I get better nourishment. It also helps me, deal with the fact of how animals are treated. It's a super great workout that does not involve me going to the gym or running. And it's also a connection to not just my family roots, but like to the roots of humanity. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We got lots more coming. I'm super excited. Let me know what you thought. Let me know, kind of why you want to get started on a homesteading journey or gardening or anything like that. And we'll see you soon.